Hi. I'm not into tarot at all, but definitely into doing it any kind of online way or like this. But they've also been really helpful and kind of like synchronistic, so I figured I'll throw my vibe out into that. Um, I guess when I do it for other people, like I always have my medicine bag on me and like crystals or some kind of incense, something to kind of cleanse the vibe. But I am at home chilling, so I have tea, a beautiful like fresh leaf tea, in my favorite cup. I don't know. I wish I could show you how pretty that is. There we go. Um, that was a gift to me, and it's like lemongrass and chamomile and rose, and I think there's like blackberry or something in there. But I don't know. Chills me out. Chills me out. Calms me down. Smoke if you smoke. It's medicine. Party on. I don't know. There's a full moon coming up, and it's been a hell of a retrograde, and I feel like everybody has kind of expressed that to me, in some way, shape, or form. And I like to try and be a guiding voice and piece of advice when I can, even though I have my own crazy, but I have dealt with it in beautiful ways. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm rambling now. So I kind of just want to do something that's like general and sort of commenting on the creative energy that's kind of brewing up, I think, in a lot of people right now. There's definitely something that's uh, banishing negative cycles so that you can have a positive momentum. Like I myself am like unlearning some unhealthy ideas so that I can create further uh, beyond that. Um, and we have a lot of creatives in the world, so this is for that vibe. And I will pull a few cards and see what happens. See what happens. Wow. Okay, so bottom of the deck was Queen of Wands, which very much holds true to what my intent was, and an outcome general mood of the deck being a firm stance in your creation and in that grounding energy. I feel like for as chaotic as things can feel right now, there's a lot of grounding, um, and a lot of understanding and a lot of fire with that. So really, really cool. Um, First three, we have Two of Pentacles in the middle, Seven of Swords, and Wheel of Fortune. I don't really read reversals as like some foreboding, like opposite. That's all a matter of perspective. But I do think there's some internal cycles going on, and you are always kind of your own worst enemy and your own worst critic and your own stop in the momentum. It's crazy how much we can really just like hold ourselves back from emanating. It doesn't read like a full linear three. Like I'm not getting this like past, present, future kind of vibe. The way they're all kind of laying out is like pentacles. So like points of manifestation, very much so, and like all elements uniting, very much so. I feel like all of this is all of, like, it's a singular star rather than any kind of timeline per se. But these central cards, the World and Two of Pentacles, um, Pentacles and Two of Pentacles can often kind of read as if like new relationships and what have you, but I believe very much so in like Kundalini energy. So unions for sure, but like that can totally just mean you and just mean your energy. So I feel like a lot of what these reverse wheels are in our own minds are a disunite with our masculine and feminine energies, with our creative energies, and how we execute them, or how we protect them, or how we fuel these births with specific energies, be it, you know, aggressive or what have you, because these things do all have momentum. So when we feel a lot of creative energy, but we also backtrack that on our own, very much so by negative self-talk and things like that. You know, there's all of these positive potentials, but when you negate that verbally or like in your own mind, it's not just an impediment, it very much brings that momentum in the opposite direction. No molecules, nothing is ever still, nothing is ever just is. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. Oh man, that reminds me a lot of something I heard very young. The last card that I pulled in this is your Two of Cups, which in pair with the Two of Pentacles, I think is a very positive sign. It is very much a union and when things come together. So what ideas that you have that don't feel like they have the momentum to come to fruition now will, but be mindful of how you feel those patterns. Again, with like negative self-talk and stuff like that. The more you say you can't, the more that becomes your possibility, or your probability in your own mind, in your own circumstance, situations. And one of my very favorite cards, wow. One of my favorite cards that comes up for me a lot, actually, the Hangman, which is very much, I feel like people read it like in, again, kind of a negative way, where it's like sacrifices and something's being stripped away from you. But anything that is our own hell is our personal choice, personal problem. And there's beauty in sacrifice. It may not mean anything's necessarily being stripped away to clear this path, but it's like a meditative state. And then that obstacle kind of dissipates rather than is physically lifted. Like as if like seeing a mirage in the desert, you realize that it's not really there, and that you can continue to move forward. And that opens up really, really beautiful flowing emotional energy, which, contrary to like elemental belief, you know, very fiery creative energy and very passionate water energy, I do not think those things are capable of canceling each other out. I think they very much fuel every bit of it. And this just kind of poked out, so Nine of Pentacles. It's being in your third eye energy, and you have the energy to be able to push it out. You just have to focus your breath. You just have to focus on any of those negative habits that have been an illusory wall. Seven of Swords being the first card, I think there's an air of overwhelming, and that is coming from a lot of commentary, both internal monologuing and external expectation, and that can be very difficult But I feel like there's a focus here that I'm not really used to seeing in this. Like I'm busy, I'm working on something, like leave me alone. Kind of vibe for every sword that's drawn at you. And I think that means, like we know these projects, we know what's calling us. Like this is a really, really interesting time of like very intense energies. We know the things that are reoccurring and synchronistically calling us forward and like calling us on our bullshit. We just need to take the time to sit with those thoughts and by ourselves and create our own ways of thinking. A card of sacrifice, but it's beautiful sacrifice, and it's I very much feel like a card of enlightenment, like creating light in dark spaces, and transmuting that in you. What was once a dark, negative insecurity can become a light, can become a huge surge, and a huge gift of potential that you already have, and just learning how to like shoot that out like this, exactly like that. I read a lot with numbers too, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, so first card, Nine of Diamonds, which is very much like your Nine of Pentacles here, or that was just pulled. Very much resonating in the same energy. I think, again, with that negative self-talk stuff, you're operating from a place of lack. I mean, y'all are sometimes. Operating from a place of lack. Like, you when you look at your own worth, you're not seeing exactly what is there or what everybody else sees. A lot of times and this is because of lots of things, the world's constantly telling us that we need more. So we see all of these things that we've cultivated and we're like, but that's not enough. Desire is a beautiful thing. The need to, or the wanting to want more drives us in so many ways. But it also is a dead-end game. Like, I mean, it's like a vortex. It's a black hole, and it can be something you get lost in or something that you find yourself in. Like any dark space. Again, this fucking card has ruled my life in so many ways. It's beautiful. Yeah, so this is like taking note of your worth and recognizing that you do have that fucking jackpot. The excitement that comes when you see those things line up, when you're gambling. Like, you are that winning ticket, and you are all of that gold. You have all of that, and looking at it realistically, when gambling, even really, like, you need to be aware of how much you have and what your potential is. And I've struggled with like negative self-talk a lot, so I definitely, in dealing with that, learned to cultivate the habit of, like, for everything that I feel like I don't have, think of 3 things that I'm grateful for, like, instead of just resonating on like, shit, I'm $100 like short on rent, rather than sit in that all morning and let that ruin my day. It's like, okay, but I have a roof over my head, and I ate today and it was delicious, and I still did my yoga practice or still meditated for whatever, for any amount of time, honestly. Yeah, it kind of like cancels it out until you recognize how much better it feels. when you're just kind to yourself, and gentle with yourself, because the rest of the world isn't really most of the time. And that can be very hard. So yeah. Next card. I think there's a cultivating of something very new. Maybe something that has never been tried before. A new path, and maybe one that you didn't really ever consider going down. But I think it really makes your heart sing, and is also something that can be sustainable for your life, for your life's cause, for your heart health. And I think it's something that you will enjoy nurturing. There's definitely like new vibe and a lot of stability. Like, I know new shit's always fucking scary. But the scariest thing about anything new is always the anticipation of. And the moment before. And that's literally true of anything in life. I've learned that a lot through piercing and body modification, and suspension, yes. But this is true of from first dates, new jobs, public parties, or like public atmosphere. Like, everything's a new situation in some contexts, and that's also where our anxiety stems from a lot. When you kind of make peace with that false wall, I think those things get a lot easier to deal with. Bottom of the deck was Queen of Spades. So I feel like this is also some very serious energy, some very seriously introspective, because it is reversed. And spades are also kind of like swords, like air. It's very much mental strife, but I feel like this isn't strife. This is turning inwards to really do your checklist of what makes your heart happy, what makes you feel healthy, what makes you feel purposeful, what makes you feel like you're giving back to the world, because ultimately I think that's what any of our creative endeavors is not the what we do, but the why, and how that benefits the world around us, which is very stressful and feels like a never-ending fucking battle. And what is it? Existential crisis. But it is something that you nurture and grows. There's a wonderful quote by somebody, I don't know. It's like you plant the seed today, but you don't get to eat the fruit, like your children do, something like that. You can't plant a seed and expect to harvest the plant tomorrow. You have to nurture it, and these things take time. And as much as we can be impatient about the things that we create, and I know this very well, it can be self-defeating. Yeah, I definitely, it's just kind of reiterating a level of balance that will come both with your heart's purpose and your pocket's purpose. I think at first you might be really introspective about that, but we may just pay too much attention to that sometimes, and be surprised the things that we don't really need. You adjust to the comfort level of any new paycheck, period. And we'll never feel like we're adjusting to our heart level if we're only adjusting to a pocket level. Does that make sense? Yeah, there's a new level of like heart song, I think, that will happen. Yeah, I love numbers. Numbers are so clear for me. In everything but math. 100%. Um, Speaking of numbers, I do have two other decks to add to the whole shebang and see what happens. But I'm going to scoot these so I'm not awkwardly sitting opposite. But I don't know. This is where I do my own cards. My altar's right there. I have everything I could possibly need in my small little sanctuary. Plus these couches are beautiful. Fuck yeah. So this is like the oldest deck that I've had. I got this a long time ago. They're very beautiful. I'm not even sure what they are. Heart and Soul Angel Cards by Angela McGurr. But I do know these less intuitively, despite how much longer I've had them, because there's a lot of information packed into them. They talk a lot about sacred geometry and angel numbers and things of that nature and like auras. But yeah, and every time there's always something new because it's like a whole chapter. I mean, it's not that long. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. The Cosmic Tuning Fork. Ooh. There's also like Tesla numbers in here. 7's an angel number. Multiple 4s. We have 9, 6, and 3. And then again 6, which is kind of golden spirals. So like find your hottest point in your creation. But double 4s is also a there's this 4 of spades and a 4 of hearts, and I think that's the level of stability in these mental tasks and in where your heart finds its like grounding. Cosmic Tuning Fork urges you towards connection with the pure harmonics of the Earth, universe, and the cosmos. The card of inner harmony with Earth, universe, and cosmos links Chali, Tagas, Melchizedek, and Uriel. It's the suit of Sacred Hollow's light tools. Again, bringing light to dark places. The key to this is for mind, body, and spirit to resonate harmoniously through color, light, and sound. All are vibration. All of your senses. Anything you can do to stimulate your senses is, in a way, witchcraft. But adds to everything. Like, make noise. Make sounds. Don't make sounds. And listen to everything else around you. Follow the light. Follow the light behind your eyelids. It's all there. All our vibration. As you do this, you start to heal yourself and gain wholeness through merging lost soul fragments and resolving karmic issues. Visualize yourself in front of life-size tuning fork, asking for your heart to be aided with the harmonic resonances that you need. With the eye of the heart, that will sense if all is well. View your chakras one by one. Each has a note. Oh God, this is all directions. There you go. As you do this, you start to heal yourself and gain wholeness through merging lost soul fragments and resolving karmic issues. Which, even if you don't want to believe in karma, the endless cycles of our behavior patterns, cycles of addictions, cycles of relationships, cycles of career patterns, cycles of, self-sabotage. I know that well, or I used to, I guess. Yeah, these are great directions for meditation. Okay. Visualize yourself in front of a life-size tuning fork, asking from your heart to be aided with the harmonic resonances that you need. With the eye of the heart, that will sense if all is well. View your chakras, each one by one. Each has a note. And if vibrating correctly with the cosmic tuning fork, will produce a pure sound that places you in harmony with the Atoma, or the heart of the earth, which itself resonates as part of our solar system. Ask the angels to aid necessary corrections. For each time you will this to happen, it brings clear perception about unifying true heart's desire. I'm also just like in my head, like the notes of all these chakras and, you know, the numbers all over my life. For each time you will this to happen, it brings clear perception about unifying true heart's desire and soul purpose. The next steps are finding universal and finally cosmic harmony. Each step carries a higher vibration, a paler color of rainbow light essence, and pure, clear note, eventually becoming the white of unity consciousness. Your soul purpose involves working with this ancient knowledge. And if you work with music, if you work with art, if you work with, I mean, it said that anything is vibration. Anything is vibration. Your purpose is your vibration. Sound is healing. Sound is a universal language, absolutely above language barriers. And the bodies of water around us have a capacity of memory for it, or capacity for memory for this. They can retain that information. Yeah, check your tune. And if you question anything, don't question yourself. Just turn inward. Turn inward and find out why it is it's turning that way. This wheel in you. This is also a maintenance thing. Doing it once will make you feel amazing. And then the next time you don't feel amazing, do the same thing. Now you have this tool of maintenance. It's how we do our like bodily oil changes. And sometimes points in our life, especially during retrogrades, or very potent lunar cycles, or just very stressful times like February. Sometimes we forget that it's that easy to maintenance, and it's that easy to shut off all of the outside judgment and turn away from all of the swords and recognize what it is that we are worth. Yeah, our frequency is love. Earth frequency is love. Tune into some like real grounding, beautiful things, and it will create this beautiful Queen of Hearts. I love those cards. They're so pretty. And always so on point. I'm lucky to have them. So I was also gifted a beautiful, beautiful deck. We've talked a lot about light, but light cannot exist without shadows or without darkness. And this is also very much a journey, and the Hangman journey is very much about that. Finding spiritual light within you, finding light in dark places. And I think that's also what fuels our creativity. So these are beautiful demons. These were actually a lovely gift from a good friend and coworker of mine. And just kind of like absolutely added to the conversation that I feel like all of these have. And just like we've talked about with the rest of this, there cannot be light without darkness and vice versa. It is the perfect dichotomy. So let's see how this demon energy calls us out. So 2 fell out, and I'm going to take the bottom. We have Asmodeus, Amdusius, Astaroth, and Cain. He conducts invisible instruments in melodious concert, and the trees bow to his voice. Wow. Wow. There couldn't be something more perfect, actually. Astaroth is the Duke of Hell with the face of an angel. He rides a winged beast and manifests as a black bird. Okay, I don't know these as intuitively either. So let's see. Amdusias, a Grand Duke as Amdusias. According to Ware, Pseudemonia Demonium rules over 29 legions of demons in hell. Demonologists claim that when summoned, he can appear as a human, but with claws on his hands and feet to show he is not quite human. I dig. But that his true form is that of a unicorn. Unfortunately, many creatures, including the rhinoceros, are referred to as unicorns for having a single horn instead of two. So we cannot know if Amdusias's form is that of the classic horse with a single horn or some other single-horned beast. Talk about androgyny. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Amdusias's gift is the ability to create beautiful music. Because when we are in tune, we resonate very highly to everybody around us, and draw those things near. Demonologists claim that if asked to perform a concert, Amdusias will suddenly be surrounded by the sounds of hundreds of invisible instruments, horns, flutes, and stringed instruments, and the sound builds until the trees sway and bend as if dancing. That's beautiful. At first it seems as if Amdusias has a very simple gift, invisible instruments and dancing trees, but when we think for a moment about the poetic nature of many of the early demonologists, it is possible that Amdusias may control something that is more than beautiful, the wind. The swaying, dancing trees are a hint to his potential power, while other invisible force causes the forests to bend. Anyone who has walked on a blustery day while the trees whisper and the power lines hum can easily imagine where. If Amdusias does control the winds, the invisible instruments come from. Focus on musical endeavors, including focus on creative endeavors. But wow, I love that. Creative energy is such fire, and it comes from like mad emotions. For a long time, I thought that like fire sign, water sign canceled out each other, but I realized now that it's very much a transformation or a transmuting of these elements. And they don't cancel each other out. They actually like heat each other up and create more friction in those molecules scientifically. But in like terms of elements, like fire plus water doesn't mean like fire goes out. It means water boils and turns into steam. So having major fire energy and like major water energy is also correlating to the major quote-unquote swords energy that's in these numbers, and how we transmute any kind of darkness, which is absolutely, again, the hangman, and how we make beautiful things, for people that need to know they're not alone. Yeah, that's super beautiful. That makes me feel all kinds of things, actually. So, the bottom of this deck is again more sound. Came as a fallen angel, first appearing in Ware's Pseudemonia Demonium as Came, later given the alias Camille in the Geusha. Ware ranks him as a president of Hell, one of many presidents listed by Ware, with no mention as to which committees they're presiding over. With 30 legions of demons under his command, Came has been depicted as both a blackbird of the thrush family and a man with a pointed sword. In Dictionary, he is given the form of a thrush and the sword he would carry in his human form. Although many demons are said to have answers regarding the past, present, and future, Came is unique in that his specialty is given to be premonitions, only of the future. Wow. His form is also somewhat unique. Unlike the raven, the common blackbird was not considered a particularly evil or dark omen in folklore. Perhaps there was simply too many of this very common bird to be considered frightening, as with Beelzebub's flies. Came's brother and sister blackbirds may have been his eyes throughout the world, allowing him to pick up news and use that knowledge to predict the future. Wow. Cain was apparently able to teach those who summoned him how to understand the thrushes, as well as the calls of all other birds and animals, and even the sounds of the rivers and oceans, so that the summoner might be able to use that knowledge to make predictions. Focus on listening to ambient sounds for calm, relaxation, and inspiration. Again, very true. Frequencies or silence, whatever works. Wow. What was Astaroth? Oh, poor Astaroth. So, like, the hangman energy is, like, as if he's being punished, but he's, like, super cool with it. And Astaroth is this demon that, like, really is just, or was just an angel and, like, isn't really known for being a demon. So I'm getting the sense that, like, the swords of these that aren't you, that aren't necessarily your negative self-talk, or other people, or it's not necessarily your negative self-talk, but, like, something that's happened to you before, like the stories that we relive in our heads, when we live with trauma. Those stories are very much a huge part of who we are, but those stories also do not need to be told and told and told and told over and over again. And I've done a lot of work on this on myself. Those tragedies that we've lived don't necessarily have to be our narrative in the version that we tell of ourselves to the world. No one's been wrong more than he. Just ask him. He remembers all of the details of the fall, the separation of heaven and hell, and will not hesitate to tell you how he certainly deserves to be punished for choosing the wrong side. And maybe that's the truth. I certainly wasn't there, and most demonologists and theologists are a bit biased about that matter. There is a point when one protests too much. Astaroth has reached it, as he is unwilling to discuss any other matters when he is summoned, but he is quite gifted in math and science until he has told his tale of woe. Again, that inverse wheel of fortune energy, like the things that are standing in our own way, often are us. Astaroth's name seems to have slowly evolved from that of the Phoenician goddess Astarte, an incarnation of Ishtar of Babylon. Oh, coming right up, actually, because Ishtar is actually what Easter is for. It's basically like a pagan fertility holiday, which does not necessarily mean you have to have sex. But sex in a field is also great, but it's more so like planting all of your seeds so that you can grow and nurture something in later months, in your harvest months. And right now we're talking about the fertility of our creativity and our heart. So very much that. Unlike the beautiful goddess that is his namesake, demonologists describe him as being ugly. I love how so often, like, stories come from, like, a female counterpart but are, like, re-represented as male. I think this is just Ishtar. Which is also, again, recognizing your beauty, and not letting other people's negativity dictate how you see yourself. Not letting other people's limitations dictate how limitless you really are, or that we all are capable of outside of our own minds. Because, again, sometimes we are our own, like, worst enemy, the only thing holding us back. It seems unnecessarily cruel to man, makes me wonder if perhaps there wasn't some other injustice done to him. Likely. Most likely. Because life's a bitch. But we don't have to keep giving that power. Sebastian Michaels, a French Grand Inquisitor, whose book Histoire admirable de possession et conversion d'un pénitent contains a brief hierarchy of demons, makes no comment about Astaroth's appearance, and still says he is a lazy, vain, and full of He is lazy, vain, and full of rationalizations for his every perceived wrong. Yeah, like hard love, like we can make a lot of excuses, but we need to make more solutions. Um, our energy can skyrocket down or plunge right up. That sounds fucked up. Um, yeah, no, like negative cycles, negative self-talk, that shit resonates just as well, and it's not a good feeling. Sometimes we really are wronged by circumstances or by others, and sometimes we feel that way. And sometimes we only feel that way. But when we dwell on a slight, real or imagined, to the exclusion of all else, we eventually lose the sympathy of everyone. And fuck everybody. But it's misery. It's absolute misery living like that. Oh, what was the thing? Focus on. Yeah, avoid the complaints. Fuck that negative shit. Yeah, this wore me out. I'm tired. But I hope that was kind of rewarding, for everybody. And I hope that, whatever you choose to do with your creative fires, and seeds to plant this Ishtar, that it really, really fills you. Yeah, with this new March 9th full moon, if there's anything that you really want to come to full fruition, meditate on it. Sit outside if it's nice, or like sit with the window open. Just kind of breathe. And when you breathe in, really visualize everything coming in, and when you breathe out, really visualize every piece of you coming out, and soak up that lunar light and see what happens. Yeah, I hope abundance and fulfillment for you. Party on.